Right now at 6, the latest on the votes from teachers and the school board to bring a contentious dispute officially to an end. Plus,
so far this year, we are at 66 total roadway-related fatal crashes.
An alarming rise in traffic deaths. What authorities say is behind a year that's on pace to break records. And Grinches go after a family business.
While she was inside, someone came up and just got into her truck and drove away.
The plea to help bring back a truckload of holiday cheer. Good evening, everyone. Let's get right to breaking news. And within the last hour, Portland teachers overwhelmingly voted to ratify a new contract with the school district. That follows a strike that stretched on for over 3 weeks. You're looking live inside PBS headquarters, where board members are just convening their meeting, where they too are expected to vote to approve that deal. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Molko. That ratification by thousands of educators comes after months of negotiations and 11 days of missed classes. Let's bring in Alma McCarty live outside that board meeting in North Portland. Alma, walk us through everything you know right now.
Yeah, David, PAT members voted today on that tentative deal that PPS and the union finally agreed to just 2 days ago. And around 5:30 this evening, we finally learned, as you mentioned, the results of that vote, with PAT members voting to ratify their contract with the district with 95% support. Now, classes resumed for tens of thousands of students in the district on Monday after nearly 4 full weeks of the teachers' strike. Both sides tentatively agreed to a 13.8% cumulative cost of living increase, some class size thresholds, and more planning time. The district says the contract will cost around $175 million over the next 3 years. Now, earlier this afternoon, Governor Tina Kotek said she was very glad students returned to the classroom in Portland, and she discussed the agreement to resolve the strike, followed by next steps at the state level to address issues educators have consistently brought up.
Getting frank with the legislature about where are we on the funding formula that funds our schools. What we heard was current service level didn't do it. We have outstanding needs around wage growth in our schools and related to contracts. So we have to, I think, take a deep dive on how we're doing our school funding formula.
The governor also talked about supporting students with their social emotional needs and creating an Office of Transparency within the Oregon Department of Education to make budget info the state already collects more accessible and easier to understand. And again, within the last hour, we have learned that the union members overwhelmingly voted in favor of ratification. However, that is only one piece of the puzzle. The school board also has to vote on this contract, and they're expected to do so during the school board meeting that is happening right now. Live in North Portland, Alma McCarty, KGW News.
And to put it into perspective, it sounds like some of the hard work is just getting started. Thank you, Alma. Appreciate that update. Stay with KGW for the latest on the aftermath of the Portland teachers' strike. You can check out the fine print of the deal and really get updates anytime on KGW.com and streaming on KGW+. In your headlines this evening, officials in Yamhill County have confirmed a 16-year-old from Polk County was the victim in yesterday's fatal shooting in the northern part of the county. It appears they suffered multiple gunshot wounds in a rural area along Russell Creek Road. That is off Highway 47 north of Yamhill. Authorities have not released the name of the victim. Meanwhile, also in Yamhill County, the sheriff's office is investigating what they're saying is an unrelated shooting just a few miles away. Deputies got a call about 2:30 this morning, responded to a home near Bald Peak State Park near the Washington County line. Someone called 911 to report multiple gunshots being fired at this house. Authorities searched the area. They say they found evidence of gunfire. They say somebody was inside the home at the time, but they're not saying if that person was injured. The investigation remains ongoing. In Northeast Portland, a behavioral health center is closed today after somebody stabbed a security officer. This happened late Monday morning at Cascadia Health's Garlington Health Center on MLK Boulevard. Police say 35-year-old Joshua Colmar walked into the building and stabbed a security officer. They were taken to a hospital with injuries not considered to be life-threatening. Police arrested Colmar today in court. He pleaded not guilty to attempted murder charges. Cascadia Health says the health center will reopen tomorrow. In Kelso, a woman is without a home tonight after a fire destroyed her RV. This was at the 4U mobile home park next to I-5 around 11:30 last night. The RV was fully engulfed by the time firefighters arrived. Crews were able to keep it from spreading, though, to neighboring RVs, but the woman's 3 dogs did not make it out. No word there on the cause. And you heard the governor's comments around the future of education in Oregon. Well, today at a news conference, she also talked about the Central City Task Force and its plan to find strategies to clean up the Rose City and bring people back to downtown. That task force will unveil its plan next week. A key part of it will be focused on getting homeless people off the streets and into housing.
We're on track, if not exceeding our goals around building new shelter capacity. We're doing a really good job about eviction prevention. I think we had systems in place. The rehousing effort has been the hardest one. Some of that relates to our housing crisis. We literally don't have housing in some communities when people have transitioned and gotten stable to go into housing. It's really hard.
The governor plans to make housing and homelessness her top priority in the upcoming legislative session. She's urging lawmakers to pass a $600 million package that includes funds for new housing, to keep shelters running, and for rent assistance. Matt?
Thanks so much, David. Boy, the clear weather continues, but only for one more day. We have a winter storm watch. Begins in the Cascades Thursday afternoon, extends for about 48 hours. That means that conditions are favorable for winter storm conditions in the area that is watched for. This will be converted to a warning as we get within 24 hours of the event or by, say, tomorrow afternoon. And it's for the entire run of the Oregon Cascades and up into Washington as well. Why and what will it do? Well, here's the forecast for snowfall on Mount Hood. Snow level dropping down to 3,000 feet by Thursday when the snow begins, 3 to 6 inches by midnight then. But look at Friday and Saturday, heavy snow. And look at Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, nothing because the snow level gets so high. So this would be somewhere between 2 and 4 feet of snow before we start getting rain on snow. Why will we get the rain on the snow? Well, I'll show you what's coming our way. And it is unfortunate that it goes down that way, but still, this will help to build our snowpack. A lot of moisture here from down near Hawaii up into the North Pacific. Now, it's not reaching us yet, but it's going to begin to impact us as we go into the weekend. Look at this. This is our basically our atmospheric river forecast. You can see it's just edging up to the coast of Oregon by Saturday evening. So this is going to be a warmer but still very wet weather systems that come in beginning Saturday night into Sunday, Monday, and beyond. And that's why we're concerned about the rain falling on the snow. But again, it's good news that we get the snow, begin to build our base in the mountains. David, more on this a bit later. Back to you.
Thank you, Matt. See you in a few. 2023 is shaping to be one of the deadliest years ever on Portland roads, with traffic deaths on pace to surpass last year's mark, the highest death toll we have seen in decades. Kyle Leboshi spoke with the police and a victim's family today. Kyle, what's behind it? Why are we seeing this spike in people being killed?
Well, and David, we haven't seen numbers like this since the mid-1980s. And think about that. At the time, things like seat belts and airbags were not required. Now, even with these advanced safety devices, we're seeing a record number of deaths. 2023 is shaping up to be one of the deadliest years ever on Portland roadways. So far, 66 people have died in roadway-related crashes. That's just 2 shy of last year's 68 deaths, the highest number recorded in decades. And police fear that number will likely increase during the busy holiday travel season.
We always see an uptick around the holidays when it comes to intoxicated and impaired driving.
Drug and alcohol impairment is a top contributor. Data shows between 2017 and 2021, 69% of deadly crashes in Portland involved impairment. Speed also played a role. 42% of deadly crashes involved speed. Sergeant Ty Engstrom explains another contributor that doesn't show up in the numbers: distracted drivers.
It is something very difficult for us, unless somebody admits to it or somebody saw it. It's hard for us to pinpoint if the person was on their phone or distracted in some way when the crash took place.
A fatal crash can leave family and friends devastated.
These are more than just numbers.
On October 21st, Ron Coleman lost his son, Brandon. The 34-year-old was killed in a hit-and-run crash off Southwest Nadeau Parkway on the Morrison Street Bridge on-ramp.
Just a remarkable kid from day one, just brought so many people laughs and was very courteous and caring.
Coleman hopes someone comes forward. No arrests have been made.
Let's get justice for my son, Brandon.
And he hopes other drivers will be responsible by slowing down and avoiding drinking and driving. He doesn't want others to share his pain. In May, Portland Police reinstated its traffic division. There are now 14 people patrolling the streets 7 days a week. That unit recently worked with other agencies to conduct DUI saturation patrols.
All of this a great reminder, especially during the holiday season. Thank you, Kyle. Coming up tonight on The Story, a power company that's been held liable for past wildfires is now asking the state regulator to step in when it comes to future lawsuits. Evan Watson's in the newsroom now with a preview. Evan?
David, Pacific Power wants regulators to limit its liability from future wildfire-related lawsuits. You may remember, in June, a Multnomah County jury found Pacific Corp liable for some of the 2020 Labor Day wildfires. The company was ordered to pay $90 million in damages, with potentially many millions more still to come. Now, Pacific Power attorneys say a limit on liability is necessary because the increased risk of wildfire means power companies are now more exposed to litigation. A company spokesperson told us, "We believe a reasonable limit on liability as allowed under Oregon law would be a net benefit to Oregon customers as it would shield them from some of the costs associated with wildfire litigation. But there's no guarantee that Oregon customers would ever be hit with the costs of wildfire litigation. As a regulated utility company in Oregon, Pacific Power must get approval from the Public Utility Commission for any rate changes, explaining exactly how and why rates are going up. Aside from that, consumer advocates say Oregonians should be able to seek damages from power companies if they're found to be responsible for starting or spreading wildfires.
This is the broadest and most sweeping liability waiver that I've ever seen filed. And it's no question that it's coming in the wake of the verdict that was just rendered by the Multnomah County Court. And we feel that now is not the time for a utility that was just found to be grossly negligent to try to be precluding future customers from potential injury and liability from facts and cases that are not yet known.
It's important to note that Pacific Power at this point has not requested to pass down litigation losses onto customers, although that is still an option based on a previous filing. On its reduced liability request, regulators say the filing raises multiple legal and policy questions. Coming up in The Story at 6:30, I'll explain why anyone with a power bill should be paying attention to this.
Yeah, you definitely got our attention here, Evan. See you in about 15 minutes. Thanks.